Hello all, welcome to this new video in the pfSense series. In the last video, we looked at how you provide user-based access control to your internet. We also looked at the advantage of using user-based access control instead of the IP-based access control. Now in this video, we are going to look at how you connect your Squid proxy or SquidGuard proxy to a Windows Active Directory. Now, as we have seen in the last video, most of the organizations use a centralized authentication system for their user database. Now, in earlier video, we configured Squid proxy to use authentication, but in that case, we selected the local authentication. And as you know, the local authentication means the Squid proxy will be using the local database of usernames and passwords. Now in this case, here we have two databases. This database which is used by the Squid proxy, and we have this Windows Active Directory database which is used by Windows for login. So in this case, when a user logs in to a Windows system, now this username password is sent by Windows to Windows Active Directory. Now once the user has logged in, the user will start browsing internet. So when user opens the Internet Explorer, now again a username password will be asked, and this username password is sent to Squid proxy. So here now user will provide the username and password. So this username password is sent to the Squid proxy, and Squid proxy is checking the username here in the local database. Now it's working fine. So where is the problem? Now initially the username password will be same in Windows as well as in Squid database. Now suppose the user who has logged into this Windows system changes the password. Now user may change the password because the user wants to change it, or there is a policy in Windows which forces user to change the password after maybe 42 days. So in such case, the user is now giving a new password to the system. So now user has changed the password. Now this password is updated in Windows Active Directory. So here the password is updated. However, the Squid database is not updated, and that is why user will have to use the old password. This is how the users will have different passwords for internet access and different password for Windows login, and it creates a problem for most of the users. Now instead of this, if we get something so that if a user changes the password in the Windows Active Directory, the same username password will be used by our Squid. So instead of having two different databases, if we can have a single database which is used by Windows operating system as well as our Squid proxy, it will be better for administrators also to manage the accounts, and for users also to remember the passwords. If you have these two different databases, Squid does not allow users to update the password here. So whenever user changes the password in the Windows Active Directory, they may have to inform administrator to change the password and match to the Windows one. So administrator will update the password from here. In that case, the privacy is lost because the users will say our admin passwords are known to the administrators. So we want to maintain a complete privacy about the passwords. So what we are going to do is, now we will see how to connect our Squid proxy server to Windows Active Directory so that the same username password will be used by Squid also. So now in this case, I'm going to delete these users. We don't require them now. So now the local database is empty. Now before we configure, Squid will require one user to log into Windows Active Directory to make queries. Because whenever a username password comes to Squid, now Squid will have to send it for verification to the Windows Active Directory domain controller. Now domain controller will first ask Squid to log in, and then it will allow the Squid to make a query about the username and password. So let's first create a user in the Windows Active Directory for the Squid. So it is recommended you create a different OU. So I'm creating a different organizational unit here in my Windows Active Directory. So I'll give the OU name as devices, and in this devices OU, now I will create a new user by the name pfSense. So this is the user that will be used by our Squid to connect to Windows Active Directory. Or you can create a user by name Squid itself. So make sure you remove this checkbox, user must change password at next logon, and password never expires, because as I have already informed, there is a policy in Windows domain which forces user to change password after every 42 days, or it may be 30 days, changed by the administrators. So in that case, the password will automatically expire, and after that time the Squid account will get disabled, because the pfSense account is not able to update the password, so it will be disabled. So that is why keep it password never expires. So password will never expire, so but it is recommended you keep on changing the passwords frequently. So click next, finish. Now this is how we have created one account. So this is the account created. Now when we configure Squid, we have to give something called as a distinguished name. Distinguished name is a LDAP format of naming objects. Now in this case, it starts with the common name. So common name will be the name of the user or a group, etc. It starts with this username. Then next you have to specify the location, that is where this user is. Now in our case, this is our organizational unit. So OU is devices, and this devices OU is under the domain demo and labs. So domains are identified by using keywords DC. So DC is equal to demo, comma DC is equal to labs. Okay, this is how you start with the username, organizational unit, and you move towards your domains. So now let's configure the Squid proxy server. So we are in the services Squid proxy server. Let's, we have deleted the users already. Now we will go to authentication. Now here the authentication is local. Now we will shift it to LDAP. So Windows Active Directory uses the lightweight directory access protocol, LDAP. Now here you have to specify the IP address of your domain controller. So here you can see the domain controller IP address in my case is 192.168.56.15, and that is what you will have to put here. Now authentication server port, by default it is 389, but it is without encryption. So if you are going to use the encryption, you can specify the LDAP S port. Now authentication prompt, this is the prompt that will be displayed to the users. How many authentication processes you want to start, how much time the authentication will be cached. You can specify all these options. Even if you don't specify, it's okay, there are default options. So I'm not going to specify. So scroll down to this Squid authentication LDAP settings. Now here we will select the LDAP version as 3. Okay. It will be the TCP standard, Now LDAP server user DN. So in this case, this is the user that will be used by the Squid proxy server to connect to Windows Active Directory for queries. And if you remember, we have created the account by name pfSense. So we have to provide the distinguished name of that. This is how you specify the distinguished name. So here once again, let's confirm this is pfSense, cn is equal to pfSense, OU is equal to devices, and DC is equal to demo, and comma DC is equal to labs. So now this is the distinguished name that we have specified. Now you have to give the password that you assigned for this user base domain. That is, it will be, we want users to be searched in the entire domain. So that's why we will be specifying. So here DC is equal to demo. So whatever is your domain name, specifies in this particular format. Now what attribute we want to search? So we want to search the Windows login name, that is called as a SAM account name. This is what we want to search. So Squid will be searching for this particular attribute. In LDAP, the objects will have different attributes. Out of that, it will search for this particular attribute. And then for which user it will search for it. So here in the search filter, we are giving the filter as this. Now what this filter says is, now Squid will be searching for SAM account name, and here the %s will be replaced by the username that is received by the Squid. So user opens the browser will prompt for a username password, the user will type the username, and that username goes to Squid. So Squid will put that username here, log into the Windows Active Directory by using this account, and then it will ask domain controller that give me the SAM account name for this user. If it matches, it means the user is present. This is how it will be checking the received usernames and their passwords. It will get it verified, and once the username is verified, then the login is successful. Now make sure select this checkbox. Now click save. So this is the only configuration that you have to do. Now once it is saved, this is what we configured. Now we have to go to the general option and restart the service. Now once the service restarts, let's go to Squid proxy, Squid guard proxy filter. Now here in the group ACLs, we already have these two ACLs created, and those were applied for the cells 1 and the accounts 1 user, accounts 1. Now let's see, if we go to Windows machine now, and once we log in, whether the LDAP works, the LDAP connection works. Because now if you see, the Squid proxy server does not have any username passwords stored in the local database. So now the cells 1 and accounts 1 users, they are present only in Windows Active Directory here. So let's go to one of the client and see. So this is where I log in as the cells 1 user. Now once the user logs in, let's open the browser. Now here the browser is asking for a username password. Let's type the same username and password. So now you see the user has logged in. Let's try some website. So here if you see, the shopping sites are opening, but the banking sites are not opening. This is because if you remember in the earlier video, we have given the sales user access only to shopping sites, and banking sites are not allowed. Banking sites are allowed only for the accounts user. Okay, so now it means it is working. So our Squid proxy is able to use username passwords from Windows Active Directory. Now to verify, let's do one thing. We will create one new user and we will log in by using that username, and we will check. I am on the domain controller. Now here I will create one organizational unit. So we have sales and accounts department. Let's create for the purchase department, and here I will create a new user by name, let's say P1. So I'll just remove user must change password at next logon. So now this user is created. Okay, so let's go to Windows machine, and here now we will log in with the username called P1. Now this user has logged into the Windows because this Windows is connected to Active Directory. The new user P1 logged into the system. Now P1 user opens the browser and starts browsing. Now here what is required is whenever a new user logs in, the browser is not configured for the proxy. So that is why always if websites are not opening, first thing you need to check is the proxy settings. Now this can be done by using Windows Active Directory group policy. You can automatically configure that, or else you'll have to inform new users how to configure browser with the proxy settings. You can provide the procedure to the new users. So in the browser, just search for the proxy in the settings. So we have already done this in the last video. So go to the proxy settings, scroll down, and here you have the manual proxy setup. Provide your pfSense IP address, and the port number is 3128. Sorry, 3128, which is our Squid proxy server port. Click on save, close this. Now your browser is configured to use the Squid proxy. So now if I refresh, it should ask for username password. Now this is where we will give the new username P1, the password for this user. So user has logged in, browser is asking to save the password. We don't want to save. It depends on the user. If they want to save, they can save it. So next time onwards, they don't have to log in. So once this user logs in, you can see that this user is able to open only the Red Hat, Microsoft, and Google website, and the other websites are not opening. Now this is because this user does not have any group ACL. This group ACL is for sales user, sales one user, and this group ACL is for accounts one user. And that's why this user will be provided access based on the common ACL. So common ACL, if you see, it allows only the whitelist and everything else is denied. So that is why if you go to target categories and check whitelist, here we have allowed only google.com, microsoft.com and redhat.com. Only these sites are allowed. So that is why whatever new users you create in the Active Directory, they will be given access as per the common ACL. So now what you can do is you can create a group ACL for them. Or if suppose the P1 user requires the similar access, like say sales department, what you can do is you can just edit that, and here you can give a space and in the single quote specify this username, right? So either you can create altogether a new group ACL, or you can add the usernames in the existing group ACLs. So let's say here I added the P1 user here. Okay, if it's a new group ACL, just put the name here and select whatever access you want to provide, and then click save, general settings, click apply. So now the settings are applied. For the sales department, we have allowed the social media sites, the shopping sites, and the whitelist sites. Now as we have added the P1 user in this group ACL, now this group ACL should apply, and the user should be able to open the shopping sites also. So you can see now the shopping site is opening for this user. Let's try social media site. So you can see the Facebook site is also opening. This is how, as soon as you shifted the user into one of the group ACLs, or as soon as you apply one of the group ACL to the user, Squid will start providing access to that user according to that group ACL. However, if the group ACL is not there, in that case, the common ACL will be applied. This common ACL will be applied. This is how now whatever users you create in Windows Active Directory, they will be able to log in to the Squid by using the same username and password. So now as an administrator, you don't have to manage multiple databases. So once you create an account in Windows Active Directory, the same account will be used by the users to access internet also. So it becomes easier for the users as well as for the administrators. I hope you understood the concept and how to configure Squid in the pfSense to connect to Windows Active Directory for authentication. If you like this video, please press the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment box. So thank you very much for watching this video. So take care. Bye bye.